It takes more than being online to be a great online university. It takes time and experience. University of New England pioneered distance education in the 1950s and has been perfecting it ever since. With features like 24/7 tutor access, we're now rated #1 for teaching quality and support, and the only public university in Australia to receive a 5-star rating 14 years running. So, for an expert online education, choose UNE.
So, Tony Frost, thank you for being interviewed for Law 499 here at UNE. Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Sure. Thank you, Michael, and thank you very much for this opportunity to talk to you and to your students. So I'm now an executive coach. I'm still a lawyer and an accountant, but now non-practicing. I had a 34-year career in the tax area, a tax advisor, and for the last 7 years I was running a very well-regarded firm, Greenwoods and Herbert Smith Freehills.
Thank you, Tony. And we look forward to hearing your views on these laws and technologies and how they intersect. Just as an opening question, what would you see as some of the crucial issues with the developments of new technologies and new innovations?
Well, my main area of focus is tax, of course, and that was my passion for 34 years. And I did quite a lot of cross-border tax at various stages. And what's been happening over the last 10 years or so is the global tax community, so the OECD, the Australian Tax Office and the equivalent regulatory bodies, tax regulatory bodies in other countries, have been grappling with how to divide up the global cake from multinationals in this brave new technological world we're in. So digital services and everything that's digitised is completely challenging the framework we've had for decades around how multinationals should be taxed. So the taxation of multinationals in the digital world is a critical issue, and it hasn't been resolved yet. And because of the pandemic and governments around the world borrowing lots of money and having a need in the future to get revenue to pay back the bills they're borrowing to provide all the benefits to individuals and small business, the pressure on government to come up with a global, sensible way to tax digital business will only increase.
Thank you, Tony. I can see that there are a lot of issues that are wrapped up in there. So my second question is more around what do you see as some of the common issues with new technology. So you've had a 30 plus years of experience of seeing technologies change from a leadership role as well as from a technical role. So in your experiences, what are some of those issues you perceive have been challenges?
Okay, two very different themes. First of all, just to very quickly finish off on the previous point and to drill down a bit, things like blockchain, for example, create new ways of contracting. And it's only really contract lawyers and tax lawyers that seem to care an awful lot, I think, about where and when a contract is actually formed. So some of these technologies fundamentally change and create new issues around how you figure out, for example, the formation of a contract. And that can have a big implication on the source of income and consequently taxing rights around the world. So I moved to a very different issue now, and that is what do clients want? What do clients buy? So I'm very much a practitioner-focused person. I had to feed myself for 34 years, go and find clients, and I've been fascinated to sort of research and read about this area. And I think, Michael, that The Future of the Professions by the Suskins is something that your students will be reading. And another excellent book as well, I'm not sure if this one's on your agenda, but this is called Leading the Future, The Human Science of Law Firm Strategy and Leadership. And it's a marvellous book, and it was written by my mentors, Dr. Bob Murray and Dr. Alicia Thornberry. And there's a terrific chapter at the end around what exactly are lawyers doing? What are the services that lawyers are providing? And I have to say, both the Suskins and Alicia and Bob, they're very pessimistic about the future of law and indeed professional services generally, that it's all going to be decomposed and digitised. I'm not as pessimistic as that. And I've got here a range of questions. So I'm saying here, in the age of artificial intelligence, will clients pay humans for answers to questions like these? What is the right thing to do? With all your experience, what would you do? What are other players in my industry doing right now in this situation? How will our counterparty and their lawyers at firm X react to this suggestion? What would Mr. or Mrs. X or Y, regulator Z, be likely to think about this proposed action? So I have to say, I understand where the Suskin's coming from, and that knowledge, will be increasingly cheap and easy to get computers to find and synthesize. But I think for decades to come, there's going to be a role for humans in answering questions like the ones I proposed. And you can think of many others. So really, I think what clients will be buying in the future is a relationship. They want the lawyer to have the wisdom, the judgment, the insight, the experience. And machines, I mean, nothing I've read so far suggests to me that any decade soon a machine's going to be able to do that sort of work. What it will mean, I think, is that senior lawyers are still going to know black letter law. There's a place for law schools like yours, Michael, I think, for decades to come. I do hope you get back to a bit more face-to-face teaching after the pandemic, as well as the online work that you do. But I think there's a very rosy future for lawyers who understand their role is to be able to take and synthesize the material that machines can produce and will be increasingly good at producing, but adding what the clients want. The stuff that clients want to pay humans for is the wisdom, the judgment, and answering the sort of questions which I read out before.
Yeah, thank you. Tony, I agree with you. And one of the reasons we introduced this capstone unit was actually trying to bring together some of those issues, and it's paired with a skills subject. So they still learn advocacy and muting and all those, and drafting documents and all those things. But you're right, the interface is absolutely critical. So I guess I also want to be a bit forward thinking, because those of us who are a little bit older, we've actually experienced a huge amount of change. You probably remember my thesis was actually written on a typewriter, and how things have changed since that time. It's hard to believe. So over the next 5 to 10 years, what do you see some of the big technologies, and again, some of the issues that will arise around those in that sort of time frame?
Yes, it's an excellent question. And I'm reminded that Bill Gates said many years ago that we tend to overestimate what will happen in 5 years and underestimate what will happen in 10 years. And things sort of have an exponential sort of growth. And the short answer to your question, I'm afraid to say, I don't really know. And I suspect not many people know. As you know, Mike, I'm writing a book about what young professionals, I think, should be doing in the future. And I'm very focused in this area. So I've read a lot of stuff by the Suskins and others. And there's a huge number of legal apps and tools and God knows out there. Most of them won't survive. Most of them will be replaced by something better in 6 months' time or a year's time. But I do think that over the next 5 to 10 years, and perhaps longer, the types of things the Suskins and others are saying, there'll be remarkable tools. Yep. And it's just obvious. I mean, there's so much money to be made in this area. To be frank, to get rid of the low value-adding tasks that lawyers and accountants are currently doing, there'll be enormous change, very hard to predict. And so I think the most important things for law students and practicing lawyers is to develop those human skills, because it's very hard to know exactly what are the low-hanging fruit that the computers will be doing in the future. But bet your bottom dollar, if a computer can do something better than you can do, it will do it. It'll be cheaper. The clients will expect you to do that. And they'll be looking for those human skills, the things that computers can't do. And that's really where both students and practicing lawyers should be spending their time developing those human skills.
Thank you, Tony. I really appreciate your time today. And I look forward to sharing this interview with you later.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. Pleasure.